some kind of grant or
I'll let the mayor know.
dumping? Okay, we'll talk about that, because we're gonna go on now.
1 second. Your Yakima Waste, today will just be discussion, not making a decision.
Well, we're not making a decision.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start the council study session. With Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Okay, let me get through. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and, new business. A, discussion and presentation of the contract with Yakima Waste Systems. So, we have Mark Lantern.
Yes.
Okay, Mark, go ahead and step up to the podium.
All right, I'm Mark Lancer, with Yakima Waste. I'm the district manager. I've been working with MEP now going on 4 years in September.
Apologize. Got to turn your microphone. Oh. There we go. Right on the way.
Okay, you want me to start over? All right, I'm Mark Lancer with Yakima Waste. I've been the district manager there for 4 years in September. I'm here to answer any questions. It's time for a renewal on the contract. It comes up at the end of June here. So I brought some information to the city that Yakima Waste would like to address to make sure that we stay current with the rate, so that inflation is not a big issue for the city and ourselves. So if you have any questions, or you'd like me to go over this, I'm ready to start with whatever you have, or just present it.
So we are up for Yakima Waste, we need to renew our contract. So, have any of the rates gone up?
So, Yakima Waste and, Mapton, this will be our 6th amendment. So typically every year on the first of the year, we raise the CPI, the rates in reflection to what we've agreed to in the past. In the past, we've agreed to a 80% of what's called the urban wage earners, bracket, and that's how they calculate guys across Washington state. So in the past, when inflation was not an issue, rates would stay between 1% and 3% every year based on 80%. So if it was $3, it would be $2.80 in a rate adjustment. And I'll show you some stuff on the back to show you where our last one was. So after COVID and such, we started noticing higher inflation rates. You guys have seen it in your utilities and such. Mapton is positioned pretty well, but we want to make sure in the next 5 years that we don't have a situation where it's underperforming, you're underperforming. And with us billing you and then you billing another 20% on top of that to help with your costs and your administration, if we do a correction on the CPI going forward, it will also benefit the city with the 20% that you have. We are right now at a 80% with a 3% cap. The one we're presenting is to go to 100%, and then that would be a no cap, meaning if inflation and CPI is 1.8%, it's 1.8%. If it's 5%, it's 5%. We just stay with that and make sure that there's no issues, and then all we're doing is addressing garbage collection, customer issues, safety issues, and improving the city with you and continuing the relationship we've had for so long, since '97. So on the back of that, that's the only thing that we are negotiating this besides 5 years. The attorneys did say with all of the whereas, those are the amendments, the 5 years. If you would like, they would clean this all up, move all the whereases, say 1997, these changes, here's where we're at, or we can just look at the one that we presented. If you go to the 4th page, if you got the same packet, is that correct? So we do the rate adjustment from June to June. So on this one, I showed you, we can only pull April to April because it's not the end of June. So right now, if we were to go to 100% CPI off the urban wage earner, your rate increase this next year would be 1.26. And that's lower than it was last year at 2.15 at the 80%. So you see, it does truly follow it, but it protects both sides to make sure that the rates stay concurrent. I did tell the city when I came in 2 weeks ago, we have had some other towns that their contracts were negotiated differently, and through that period, they had to make up to stay where we can still operate as a business, pay the employees the best, so you get the best service out there, make sure that we're safe. There were some cities that needed to make up 15-18% plus the normal CPI, and we had to work out deals to get them caught up for 5 years. That's why I'm saying you guys are positioned very well. It's just about trying to get to that 100%. So if you look at the final page, you will see the CPI structure that has the 10 years. And it shows last year at 100%, it would have been 2.69, and you guys at 80% were 2.15. So that's when you flip back the page, you can see that it just follows the CPI. So this next year, we don't see June to June changing much because that's just a month. It could either go up a couple pennies, it could go down a couple pennies, but right now you're looking at about a 1.26% rate increase next year. And then every year, we look at that CPI and send you the new rates we have. So any questions? We've talked about cleanup days. We are a huge partner with the city. We donate bikes every year for you guys to deliver to the kids and the people around the area. We love that. Contractually, we only have a cleanup, but typically with the cities I partner with, you guys pay the tonnage. I'll send in the guys in the trucks, and we'll coordinate some more stuff if you need help cleaning up the city or having events. If you have any kind of fair days or market days, I'll bring toters down, put them on the streets, like to fill them up, and we'll come get them. This is all relationship, non-contractual. We can put that kind of stuff in there if you want it, but you know, it's just a great partnership that we have. Our only concern with you is to make sure that nobody falls behind. Questions?
Sophie, do you have a question?
So the increase basically is like 11 cents for the seniors?
So if you got a certain rate that you're looking at on that, which one are you looking at? The seniors? So a senior of 48, would be 11%. So it'd be $8.91 to you. And then when you guys put your 20% on, you know, if you verify that, it would be $10.70 to the customer. You have the 20% that goes to your utility taxes, your overhead, your office, your admin, your clerks and such. However you utilize that fund, that's, you guys do the billing, so we don't even see that. We just bill you by the customer list that you have that we match up at that billing 80% rate.
Basically going up on 11 cents for you guys, 18.26. Fine.
If you look at those, yes, so, but remember, that's a sample from April to April. It might be a couple pennies more or less than June when we run it and get the official one, which then we'll present at that time. But right now it's 26 cents on your 96 gallon card. And to let you know, around the county and utility taxes right now, the UTC rate is around $21, and that's a regulated rate, that's what lets us be the sole provider in the market of the county to make sure that rates and companies aren't competing and jacking stuff up. But with most of the cities, almost everyone is in that $20 to $24 range for 96 gallons. So you're right there. That's why I say you guys are right there. It helps you. You're right at the margins that pay for it. Everyone knows that with Snipes closing, not having that place to take to, we didn't push into those costs over. We just took all the extra mileage and fuel and stuff on the trucks. It's something that we do as we do. We won't be able to do anything with tariffs, trucks, bodies. Our stuff comes out of Mexico and Canada. That's so far down the road. We just have to consume that somewhere else. That's where this helps us just stay current with the rates.
Question, you said something about have community events at the dumpster.
If you call and you coordinate with us and give us a heads up and stuff like that, I mean, obviously not 15 or 20, but if you say, hey, we're having this day, can you guys bring down some carts? We're gonna have people on the streets. I would gladly bring some carts down and help out and do stuff like that,
No extra fee and things like, I don't know if they have 5 a year.
5 years a lot. We probably want to go contractual on that,
Okay.
put some stuff in, so many events, donate services and carts, stuff like that. But as far as just helping out here and there, you got something that's going on, let us know, put that stuff, that's for you guys to negotiate later if you want to put that in, so it's contractual. But it's something I do, something I have not a problem. Mhm.
Great, thank you Mark, for that. No more questions. All right, we're going to go ahead and go on to B. Discussion of resolution 2025-13, ratifying the emergency purchase of 2 police vehicles, including a severability provision and setting on effective date. We are going to go ahead and go on to.
You explain that one, you just read.
Yeah, I'm looking for, what page is that?
Page 42. Basically, the vehicle had already been purchased, this is just like, because it wasn't done then.
Because, right, when we approved it, we didn't ratify it, the attorney wants it ratified.
We're gonna, is the attorney online right now?
Yeah, I can speak to this. So this is a resolution that's necessary because the purchase of the vehicles passed a threshold that requires competitive bidding procedures. Um, and you can waive those procedures that you're required to follow by law under certain circumstances. And one of those circumstances is emergency purchases. So the vehicles in question that were purchased under a time crunch based on the fact that the existing vehicles were shutting off during use and creating safety concerns, frankly, for city staff. So this is something that an auditor would want to see in the future if they look back at this type of purchase at that amount of money spent. So this is just a way to document that and say, you know, these were the circumstances around that purchase. This is why the city council made that choice. And this is ratifying that purchase and excusing the competitive bidding procedures.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kate, for that. We're gonna go ahead and go on to C, discussion of ordinance 2025-1139, an interlocutor between the state of Washington Department of Licensing and the city of Mapleton Transportation Benefit District Amendment number 3 to ordinance 2015-14. Kate, you want? Huh? Kate, do you want to elaborate on this, please?
Sure, I can speak on this a little bit. So this is just a pretty simple amendment to the language of the existing interlocal agreement between the city and the Department of Licensing. And essentially, the state takes out the fee that the city charges for licenses for people registered within the boundary of the TBD. And in doing so, the city has funds then to make transportation improvements. So these are pretty common tools that cities use for that purpose. The amendment to the interlocal agreement is only the Department of Licensing reducing the number of days notice it needs essentially before it implements any amount of increase in the fee charged by the city. So right now, the contract requires 6 months lead time before the Department of Licensing will start removing those fees, charging those fees to people relicensing their vehicles. And now it's 120 days. So there's nothing that needs to be amended necessarily in your city code unless you want to be very, very specific in terms of that implementation. Otherwise, this is just something that can be approved by council in the normal course as an amendment to the ILA.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have a question. This is basically just changing the 6 months to 180 days, 20 days that we need to inform citizens. But the price hasn't changed.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
So this basically amendment is for the 6 months to 180 days that need to inform us, not the dollar amount that is going to be charged.
Correct. You are not changing the dollar amount. That would take a separate action by council.
Any questions, Ryan?
No.
Here? Okay. We're gonna get ahead and go on. Thank you, Kate. to D, discussion on a lease agreement for the copier services. Our contract ends in October, so Sophie, just a little bit, please.
Right now, we are currently, having Pacific Office Automation, who we have our lease with, come out at least once a week. Our papers are continually getting jammed. Every time it's something different, they say. We've had the machine out, for service, and, they brought it back. It's still doing the same thing. We just they can't seem to figure out what they're doing to get it fixed, and it's really costing us money. Because when I'm printing checks on that machine, it jams them, and then it runs my numbers out of sequence. Some don't get printed, and then I have to, it's extra time, extra work, and extra money, because we're wasting money on the checks that we have to then go through and void because they're damaged.
And these guys won't replace it.
They have not replaced it. They have brought us a temporary one while they worked on ours, but it's still, and it came back and still, we're still having the same problems. I believe our contract was for 5 years and we're nearing the end. So it's been, yeah. My preference is Yakima Document Solutions. They seem to be the cheapest, and we're getting one extra printer dedicated specifically for checks. But that we did get 3 quotes, and they are all in there.
What's those quotes? Do you know? What are the quotes on those?
I have a question on that, so these other companies, will they replace it if we have the same problems that this one's been having?
One is just our contract renewal with Pacific Office Automation. They haven't been willing to replace the one we've got now. So I don't,
The other two, I mean, the other two.
yes, I did, well, I'm not sure about Abadan. I think that you spoke with them more. They may be willing to replace it. One of the options, or with Abadan, at least, whenever we need to have copies printed on a larger scale, like the maps, right? The big maps.
Yeah.
They will do that for us for free as a customer. So that is one perk to having Abadan. They are slightly more expensive than Yakima Document Solutions. But we do have that perk, and I don't know how often we would utilize it to see if it would even be beneficial to us to do it.
Mary, do you have any questions? Okay, and Mary?
No.
Thank you, Sophia. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go on to E, discussion of resolution 2025-14. The approval of the bids for the re-roofing of the Mountain Police Department located at 304 Main Street and the church located at 406 Street. So, I know that the one that we got back that was handed to you, on a single sheet, that one does not include the church. That one is just for the police department. Okay? So, if y'all look through your, packets, they are quite spendy, but it needs to be taken care of. I believe, excuse me?
Page 62.
Yep. We have, excuse me, I know the chief had explained a little bit at the last meeting about the link.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, the sooner we get this done, the better. I know the prices are, but they haven't been worked on for a long while. And I think the one that the police department got worked on, it was by our city guys, and it was just mainly to catch up with was to be taken care of. So, we have one in the amount, the first one is for 21,546. That's just for the police department alone. The other one is 25,648.46. And I believe that is for both police department and, is it both of them, or is it just for police department? That was on page 91. Mhm. And then we have another one that is on page 77, in the amount of 29,970 with 63 cents. 77. Mhm. I'm looking at,
I believe the quote might have been for both, but I will need to verify with the company to ensure that they did both on here. They did include pictures.
you could, so if you go under page 65, there is pictures, so that would include the one for the church as well.
Pictures right there for the church.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it would include the church.
Are you looking for the picture for the
Excuse me,
police department?
There's no pictures of the police.
yeah, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
there. I just.
Might have been two separate quotes for A&A roofing.
I see two quotes for
On
the,
page 83. Starts the pictures for the police department.
but the quotes for Arrow Roofing, I have two separate estimates. For the two different
See it?
properties.
Yeah. Right here, that's 19,122.95. And then here's this other one for 22.
So that's probably for the church.
Looks like A&A roofing gave us two separate quotes. 25,648.46 would be for the police department. And for the church, we're looking at 22,600.
So if you look on page 85 and see that picture of the roof. There, that's really something there. So, and I'm not sure, would we be doing the whole church, or is it just gonna be a certain, amount on that one, Jerry?
Well, from the estimate, it'd be the entire roof itself. I know it does come with some difficulties due to the pitch of the roof. It's extremely steep, which makes it difficult to work on and requires a little bit more of a safety hazard as they're working on it. Prepared it for us.
Is that shingle?
Yes, that would be.
Right
Does
now,
it need-
that's on there
Does
right
it
now.
need new boarding on the top before you put the shingles?
One of the sheeting, roof sheeting.
Uh-huh.
it goes in. If we're gonna need any, I believe this, all the mixture.
That's shingles. It's gonna look like cedar shake.
Yeah.
So,
The cedar shakes are when I add
You
it
have
to.
to- And the plywood and everything, or if there is any plywood. then-
yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
It does include removing and installing sheeting if needed, according to the damage and rot. That would be to be decided as the go through.
I know that, if we can do the police department, first.
Yeah.
And then, before fall, we can bring back the church and get that taken care of. What do y'all think?
I think that,
They both need
I
to be
think the
done.
police department really needs to be done first.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. Yeah, what do you think? We can, if we can get one fixed first, and then we can have them come back out. And then, we can, summer, fall, we can get the church. taken care of. Ready?
And so I only see two quotes from two companies now.
No, there's one right here.
Yes.
This is for the police department only.
So there's Arrow Roofing, and what's the other company then?
A&A.
A&A. And how much was A&A?
91, page 91.
This,
A&A. on page 63. You go back to, yeah, if you go, it starts on 63, and then it goes all the way to 75, and the quote that they gave was 22,607. And that would be the full cycle right there.
Oh, there it
From
is.
63 all the way to 75.
75. Yeah, okay.
And 22,600.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
And then this is the
Right.
Okay, so 90, that's the total, 90, one versus this, like, it's the labor.
We can't see. Because what's the total on this one?
When's applied for the police department?
For A and A roofing, their total is on page 91 for 25,648. And for Arrow roofing, they're on page 94 for 22,582. Both of these are for the police department.
So that would be for both, correct?
Yeah, both of those would be for police department. And then the third one for the police department would be the separate sheet you guys considered for certain.
22, 25, 21.
Okay. Any questions? Diane? So if y'all wanna just pick for the police department right now, then late spring or late summer, we could bring it back and work on the church. But I think we need to get the police department taken care of. We don't want it to damage any of the equipment or, you know, get the wall wet and start with mold in there and whatnot. Right, chief? Alright. So we can start with the police department.
To get their started.
Which one? Yeah,
Well,
well,
we
that's
know
what I
one
was about,
party.
yeah.
The cheapest one would be Syria.
Doesn't it have no warranty though? Doesn't say anything.
Which one?
Certain
So that's the.
Oh.
year warranty. Oh,
It does have one.
well, it doesn't say how long.
This one comes with completed your warranty.
Yeah.
Which one's that one?
Page 91 gives a 20 and 10-year warranty.
And you have the workmanship, yeah.
How much, is that one 20?
25.
48, one 20.
But you guys can pick the best one, the best one.
Arrow provides a 15-year warranty.
15 on the arrow one?
Yes.
And what page was that one here?
That one was
94?
cheaper. That one was cheaper, 22.
Yeah. 5. Yeah. that one.
So you put it on arrow?
15 more.
We can follow up with Serta tomorrow and see, if he offers a warranty as well. He was cheaper, right, slightly? We can look and see what he's got.
Yeah, he
That's
is.
dollars cheaper.
Okay.
If we wait, then we have to move the awarding of the bid to next council meeting. It's scheduled for tonight, so. That's up to you guys.
We don't hear by July 30th, it's gonna go up a share.
He's what?
6,000 cheaper, we already know the warranty.
So.
I mean, now it's more.
Your own call. Let me
They
know.
give us 3 different
I'm
options.
okay with arrow.
Oh my.
Okay. Okay.
And one quick question, did you guys make a decision for the printer company we were looking at?
Went through the fan again. Should.
Okay. One has the 10 or, yeah, but 20 to 10. It was on the edge. These were together. Yes. Is that the total for both?
It looks like for Arrow, that was just for the police department, and it does give us they give us a separate bid for the church itself. And they gave us two bids for the police department, one for 22,582, the second one for 27,982, just depending on what material they're gonna use.
Oh. So, which one are y'all gonna wanna go with?
The 22,582.
Arrow Roofing has a 15,000 year warranty.
Not
15 year warranty.
Okay. Great, and then, Jerry had asked if y'all decided on a company for the printer.
We can bring that to
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go on to F, discussion, on the position of the community service officer, so I'm gonna go ahead and let Sergeant Medelis and Chief Soko discuss that.
The mayor had, wanted to start enforcing a lot of the ordinances in the city. And she had said that in the past, there was a gentleman that was taking care of the ordinances and was doing quite, well in, enforcing those ordinances, and that's what he did on a daily basis. So she asked if that was something that we would be able to take on as part of our budget. You know, we would pay, I guess, minimal. I don't know what the other gentleman was making when he was working for the city with, I don't know, a couple years ago, was that? But it would be nice to have, you know, just so that they could concentrate on all the trucks that are parked in areas they're not supposed to. You get a lot of dogs running around the town. So I'm okay. I don't know. Started. Have any objections to that?
I think it's a really good idea, because it's something that we would be looking into to being part-time, like summer. So it would be like for somebody, a summer job, and that would really, as you all know, during the summer, law enforcement, we're gonna be probably extremely busy. And so trying to enforce ordinance during the summer and keep up with law enforcement is quite a bit tasking. So yeah, having an individual that can come out and, work a couple hours here and there, part-time and help ordinance clean stuff, that'd be great. Today, I had a little bit of free time myself, and I went and, we're gonna get about 5 or 6 boats out of somebody's property. I went to another house and got an RV and another car full today, but it's not always fun and get something done, and that's what I was working today. So having somebody to do that every day, that would really help. I know that there's still a lot of cars out there, a lot of property that have junk cars, weeds, grass, stuff like that. It'd be great to try and hit those sections or those parts also to get the city looking better than what it is right now.
And And it's gonna be, it'd be nice to have this person, during the summertime, because, as you are aware, in a couple weeks, I'm gonna be gone for 4 months. Then a month after that, the other officer's leaving for 4 months, so I won't be back until November. And the other officer won't be back until December. So, I guess I can bring something up as well right now. On a separate note, we did fill that position that, the young man that we went through his background about a month ago, that he washed out, didn't make it, but we were able to hire another gentleman who was going through background, and he's a lateral, and he will be starting tomorrow. So that'll help a lot.
So this is our fourth officer, correct?
Well, third, sorry, than myself. Yes. But this gentleman is commissioned already. He's commissioned.
So back to this thing, this community service officer, is it the same as the code enforcer? Do they have special?
Well, we don't want to title him code enforcement. We don't want to title him code. Community service. He just be either a community ordinance officer, a community service officer.
Officer anyway, don't they have to have some kind of training or special?
That's what a code enforcement actually has to go through CJTC, certain training before he or she can be out. Because they have certain powers that this person will not have. And
So what power does this position have?
they're gonna go be just contacting the community and making sure that they are aware of what violations they have. And then, obviously, it's not about going out there and trying to give tickets and tickets. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make sure people are aware, give them the opportunity to take care of whatever issue it may be. And then obviously if, it's not working out with the warnings, then that's when the officers would come in and the community service officer would say, hey, we talked to this, and then we will go out with them and issue the citation. But we don't have to keep going and checking. That's what this person is gonna do.
And they could inform the citizens more of what the ordinances are. That's
Exactly.
our biggest problem, I think, is that
Well, a lot of them, I think, is just not, maybe not educated on the ordinances. It's not, they're doing something.
Right.
That's why I say it's not about hiring somebody to go and start, letting us know who we need to give citations to. It's about if it's education that they need, educating them on the ordinances, and then there are violations, you can point them out and give them the opportunity to fix whatever issue it is. And then, like I said, if it's ignored, well, then that's when citation would be given.
And it would just be part-time, 3 months, and then, yeah, just like when we had the last one. And it wouldn't be 40 hours, I think it was like 32 hours that we were doing.
And I actually did talk to a manager for Yakima County Code Enforcement. And he did say that would work, that idea on how to do that without, obviously this person would not be doing the citations because they don't have the power to do that. But that would fall into our lap once, he or she, come to us and say, hey, look, these are the residences, this is how much time I give them, still hasn't been done, can you come out with me and issue citation?
Any questions, Dan? No. So,
I have budget questions now, so we can afford this part-time employee.
Well, are they asking to add that to this summer or to include in 2026's budget?
if we could include for this summer,
If we
if
have
possible.
it, if we have it available this summer, that'd be great. If not, maybe that's just some planning we need to do
Are you proposing like a minimum wage temporary job?
Yes.
Minimum wage?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, we would have to look at it, but if it's not a guaranteed hours, it's not gonna fall within the union contract. And it's kind of a temporary, as needed. I don't see a problem with council adding it because you can cut hours or add hours based on the need.
Right, so cut and add, so it doesn't necessarily make 32 hours.
Well, I think that's what we had him, we had him at 32, we couldn't go over, you know.
But you could go even like part-time would be 20 hours, right?
20 to 32 is considered part-time.
As long as the job doesn't go past 4 or 5 months for the Department of Retirement, then we're still considered a temporary seasonal, and we don't have to worry about some of the things like retirement contributions and things like that. So, more flexible.
And they would be even be able to work 40 hours,
It,
because I mean, I guess it goes to like even fruit warehouses, there's times they work numerous hours a week, but it's only temporary.
there's also considerations for health insurance and things like that, but I think as long as it's considered seasonal and it's not a job that would be covered by a current union contract.
Any questions there? No, it's okay. Mary?
Is this gonna come out of the police department wages?
No, it would not. It would not. There any other chief we spoke about that already, so it would not come out of their wages. Out of their budget, sorry, their budget.
I think it should.
It should.
It should, I think it should.
It's code enforcement or community services like this is a different accounting category for budgeting, so it would come out of a different section, but it's part of the general fund.
Thank you, Jameson, for that. Any questions? Lynn? No, I appreciate all the information. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go on. Do you have anything more to add? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go on to G, discussion of ordinance 2015-2050, amending the ordinance of 2014-1030 with respect to establishing and integrating and consistent laws with respect to dog control license and enforcement. I'm gonna let Sergeant Mireles talk about that.
So, you kind of look at the ordinance that we have here, fine, basically, dogs at large, and things of that nature. And I see that, correct me if I'm wrong, something, approximately like $25 for dogs at large, the fine that people, pay. $25, I'll be honest,
Can we interrupt? Do we get a copy of that in here? I don't see it. That ordinance that is going on.
I don't remember which ordinance it is, I'll be honest.
Oh, you don't have it.
No, I don't have it with me. I'm just kind of going off of what I remember seeing when I looked at it. The thing is that I've seen, I've gone back on reports, that even when Garcia was here, he issued those fines to people. And it's not doesn't matter, the dog are out again, and I have talked to some of your guys' citizens in town already about this. And they actually aired out and is that, why don't we charge more? Or why don't we fine people more so that it's more effective so people can start understanding that this is not a joke. We don't want dogs at large. So I went back and started thinking about what we did when I was in Granger. In Granger, it was $500 per dog at large. And in Granger, it was actually a criminal citation. So it went on the record, forever. It was a criminal citation. Now, I'm not saying let's go that far to make a criminal citation. What I am saying is, why don't we make it something to where it's gonna hurt, and this is what I've done already. I've talked to people, I've taken pictures of dogs, and I put pictures of people's animal problems, called it, and wrote up reports and stuff like that, and pictures. And I've told people, look, your dog's at large again. Of your dog, you are the owner, you told me already. If this ordinance, and I told him, if this ordinance is passed, you guys are looking at quite a bit of a fine, not the $25 or whatever it is right now. but you guys might be looking at $250, $500 if this ordinance is passed. They're like, oh man, well, I better not let my dog loose. Believe it or not, even with that warning, I have yet to see those dogs at large, the ones I take the pictures, and that's just because I'm telling you, it might be coming down the pipeline. I'm just telling you ahead of time. So my thing is not that I want to go out there and charge everybody. I want to tell everybody, look, this is your warning. Next time it's gonna be a ticket, $500, you know, or 250, whatever it is you guys decide, but let's make it something where people are gonna respect and they're not gonna let their dog out at large. We get, you know, get all these calls and stuff like that, or I'm patrolling and dogs all over, you know, and to me, it is an issue. Kids being chased by dogs, you know, when they get in the morning, going, get ready for the bus or whatnot, shouldn't happen. You know, so, yeah, exactly. You know, and what I did in Granger is I follow the dog, eventually goes home. Okay, well, the doors in. You know, because dogs are gonna go home if you kind of scare them, they will. And you follow them, then you go knock on that door. This is your dog? Oh, that's my picture, owner, report, warning. You know, next time, it's a ticket. You know, but it has to be more than $25 or $30. And so people can, because otherwise they're going, oh, here's your $25, you get it going, I'll let my. It's just not worth the time and stuff.
I think that's a good idea, and I think while you're doing that, if they don't have their tags, they need to come in and get their
Yep.
tags. You know, I know last, when the former chief was here, we were housing them in the back. Nobody came for their dogs. Nobody came to claim their dogs. The dogs were back there for a week. We took care of them for a week. And, you know, it's pretty sad. They have them all out there, but because nobody wants to pay the fee, the daily fee. And, so I think if we did that, you know, it's gone to where this public works guys have to go sit out by the school in the afternoons sometimes because they have to watch dogs. Kids, you know, the parents are calling here to the city hall. So, people are putting cages out and our cages are getting stolen as well.
When you said that last one at the last meeting, you said that, we didn't know you guys had to keep dogs for again. We stopped keeping dogs years ago. So no one's ever told the citizens, hey, if you lose your dog, call the city, go over there.
Oh, no, the chief was putting it on his Mapleton Police Department.
But unless you go to the Mapleton Police Department Facebook, you don't know. Because people don't know if we're doing that service again, like we used to.
No, that could just be.
But it'd be good if we're gonna start doing it, just to let people know that this is what we're doing now.
it
I
on
didn't
your
know
water
you were
bill.
moving them over there. Yeah. Huh?
Maybe put it on the water bill.
Yeah.
The
reader board.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that way we all know that
And I think
that's
they did
going on
put it on,
again.
I think they, did put it on the reader board. I know they didn't put it on the water bill, but I believe it went on the reader board. Put it on the water.
And the reader board will say, picking up dogs again, and there's gonna be a head of health over there at the wastewater. Contact the city or whoever to contact, that way citizens know again that we're walking dogs.
So, okay, any questions, Ann? Sophia? Mary?
No. So if I see him, what do I do with him? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no, go. I was just gonna say, ask the sergeant, so I think that's a good idea, but maybe not go to criminal charge
Yes, I agree.
right away,
Yes.
or maybe the third offense of the same dog. Those are people who don't care, like, they just let the dogs out.
Yeah, I agree too. I agree, you know, I think, baby steps, you know, trying to get people, hopefully we can get people to start complying, you know.
Just with the fines.
Yeah, I'm hoping that a fine would kind of take care of that problem.
They've been fined in the past, because I know people complain about $25 for fireworks. So they're gonna complain for $25 for a dog, but they were never fined.
I found a couple from Garcia that they did actually fine people. And I did see them, but it was like $25 and then, yeah, the dog's been at large again.
500 first, and maybe 100, 200 something to start, like, say they don't get 500.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe third
I
offense,
just don't think that $25 is, it's,
I think, you know, you go 100, second offense 250.
Yeah.
Third offense 500.
Yeah.
And it could go criminal citation at that.
And I think even start a little bit more high, because a lot of the ones that we've been getting called with same dog.
Yes.
And it's the same dog's
Yes.
case kids.
Yeah, what if this a person who take care of their dogs, they're in the fence all the time, and then something happened and they get out?
That was a verbal warning for the first time.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, we're not gonna go out there, oh, your dog's loose, here's your ticket right away. No, we go out there with okay, well, I'll take care of it, make sure, and that's where the verbal warning comes out. Now, if it gets loose again, well, obviously you're not taking care of it right, so it doesn't happen again, and here I am again. Now it's a citation, or
I know
now,
like in my house, I have dogs, and I have a chain link fence where sometimes kids or somebody will go by and lift up that gate, and so we started.
now, also, the city of Hampton, and I didn't look into this, maybe something you guys could look. I know Granger had a maximum dog that you can have.
We do.
Before. Yeah.
We have that
Okay.
before. And it changes the licensing as you go, if you breed them or house them for other people, or whatever, there's a different.
Okay, any questions?
Okay, and I have a question. So these two dogs that are across the street department, do I call you when I see them?
Yeah, you can call.
The golden, long haired.
Yeah, and like,
Oh,
and
they
like
get
that.
the garbage over there. Those
Yeah.
people put their garbage out on their step to take it to the garbage, but before they get it, there's the dogs tear it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, just call us, and like I said, if I'm here, that's what I'm doing now, is taking pictures of the dogs and writing and put it in animal report and who's the owner, you know, and like that, hey, here's your work report.
And this is just for the dogs, not for cats and chickens.
Yeah, we're not talking about dogs.
Just because they're dangerous.
Yeah, that's the problem, that they.
And you're only looking for large dogs.
Well, so let me clarify, no, not only large dog, any dog, this is what, my experience, and I'm talking about my experience in Granger, man, those tiny ones, oh, they're vicious, and they chase those kids, when I see large.
The dogs sharp shoot. It won't kill you.
We're gonna go ahead, Sergeant, if you don't have anything else, we're gonna go ahead and move on.
Yes, I don't have it.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go on to H, discussion of the implementation of an employee recognition policy to establish procedures and guidelines under which city funds can be utilized for the purpose of employee recognition. So, I don't know if there is something in place right now, but we do want to, see if we can, if the council will approve. I know, a few weeks ago, we honored our police department. We did not and have not honored our public works department and our city employees, our clerks. You know, every time we do a recognition, unfortunately, it comes out of my wallet, Vera's, yeah, Diana's, you know, we go to the community and we don't get, you know, the outcome that we think we're gonna get. So we want to make sure and see if we could do a limit, you know, and it wouldn't be like an every month, it would just occasions, you know, a couple of times if we do, you know, we don't even have to do the recognition individually. We can do like a group, city one, you know, and do the recognition all at one time, the month of. And for budget retreats as well. And what else is there? Do you think anything else? I know Marty's on there. Marty? Hello?
Can I just say one thing on this
Yes.
topic? So, yeah, these employee recognition policies are common. They do need to be in place before you provide recognition to employees, and they should have some measurable outcome before employees get recognized, and that's found within a couple different Attorney General opinions. And it should also be adopted by resolution. So for this item H and I, the next one coming up, both would require resolution prior to adoption. And our office hasn't really read through those or anything to provide a legal opinion on them. But again, you can do this. I do think this one needs a little bit of revising to be consistent with the recommendations of the Attorney General's office. So.
this would be for, I know we had a meeting, last Thursday, Friday?
That's fine. That's next.
Okay, so if, this is kind of like what we want to do. So with that, we'll go on to I.
This, on this one, you have on here 125 per employee per year.
It was a
Like,
draft.
Well, yeah, it is a draft.
Just kind of, give us an idea. of, you know,
Like,
Possibilities are.
like what you guys did with the PD, a group thingy, once a year thingy, maybe, but not,
Well-
not per employee every year. That's gonna be a lot.
But every year is all around, it's not just
No,
after,
I
but
mean-
they do a,
I mean, groups, of yeah,
oh, group,
groups, yeah,
so
like
you do
PD, the office staff, the public works. but
all
this-
of them together.
Together, yeah. When you guys are making the, your resolutions. Keep
We
that
could,
in mind.
we could ask the,
I will-
attorney's office
yeah.
bring some options to the next meeting.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, the thing that is, Sophie, it's gonna cost us as much to do them all together as it would do individual. Yeah, I think so, but we can look that up, and see, we can.
So we'll go ahead and go on to, I, discussion of meals with meeting policy and procedures. So, we want to see, I know we do quarterly meetings. And, we do them pretty early in the morning, 7:30 usually. I know we've done some at 6:45, just because we need to have City Hall open, you know, in time for everybody to get back to work. So if we could do, bagels, fruit, juice, and coffee for, the employees. I know we had a big meeting last week and, everyone showed up except I believe one of our officers. And, you know, we want to be able to have something when they come in, because once they're here to start work already, you know, and, I've called around a couple of other cities and they do, you know, offer donuts and coffee or fruit and bagels or something light. So I want to see if we can get something in place for, the employees as well.
Mayor,
Yes,
sorry,
Yes.
my mic wasn't working, but really quick on those other policies, if you look at them, they're just a draft. We're just bringing it up for discussion. If council has any recommendations, we can put that in there and then we're gonna send it over to legal for review. But today was just simply just a discussion.
thank you, Marty. Anybody have anything to add? Diane? Aaron? Girl, like the idea. So, and with that, discussion of the audit report, which is old business. So, Diana, do you want to add anything? Sophia?
Yes, I want Jameson to give us an update.
An update
On
on
the
the audit
financial,
or just?
financial and audit.
I can answer specific questions about the audit reports. I think everybody's had a chance to look at them, I hope, at this point. There were obviously some findings, but I can answer questions on those.
Now, we've seen what's online, but we've never actually gotten a copy until the packet right here, yeah.
I think based on the information that we have been providing you for the last several months, I don't think anything in the audits were very surprising. We knew that there were some issues. So they're pretty standard within the issues that we knew that there were because of staff turnover and things. So unless you have a specific question, there really isn't anything in that.
No surprising in where some bills didn't get paid.
Well, I think the auditor tests a bunch of different accounts, and so they'll go through and they'll check to see if they can find discrepancies with the accounts they look at. And they obviously did find some this time, and a lot of that is attributed to staff turnover and things like that. So I don't think there was any one particular account besides the one that they mentioned that didn't have reads for a couple of months. But other than that, I don't think there was anything in particular where any one particular account had been, under or overcharged.
What are we gonna do about making sure those accounts are up to date and got charged with dues, with late fees, the shut-offs and not shut-offs? And, so
Procedures have been put in place. where
from
we've
now
got it.
on, but I mean from the past ones that haven't done, that need to be fixed.
We are in the process, Jameson and I are in the process of fixing, accounts, recoding credits and stuff to certain accounts, and reviewing what was done in 2023 before.
In 2024.
Yeah.
So we're still in the process of reviewing, utility billing adjustments because they actually did have an impact on some of the fund balances. And so Sophie and I are still working through those. There's quite a bit of work to do. If there were any accounts that become apparent that there's been an under or an overcharge, that's more than something considered de minimis or, significant, then we would have to go and see if there was, if it was considered something that would be a gifting of funds, and if so, then absolutely we have to go back and adjust those charges. I haven't been made aware of anything like that at this point.
Okay, I think we need to get an independent investigator to investigate, to audit our office.
Yeah, I think that's what you could be talking about as well.
What I had mentioned, and this is kind of going by my background as Director of Operations, is that to make sure this does not happen again, you guys as a city, in my opinion, should have your own auditing firm that comes in on a yearly basis and does an official audit on everything. And they go through with a fine tooth comb. I'm sure Jameson back there, and I'm sure Sophie are aware of what I'm talking about. And they come in and they tell you, basically do what they're gonna do. They do up a big report and they'll tell you where you're lacking in control situation. And all they do is recommend. But what happens is they'll come back the following year and they'll do an audit again. And if the same issues are happening that were in the previous year, all that report is presented to council. And then that's when you guys can ask, hey, why is this still happening? Or why haven't you fixed this? But what it does is it keeps the city out of liability issues and individuals out of liabilities. So it's a lot of businesses do it, a lot of cities do it. And that's the reason, just to make sure they're following protocol, thefts aren't happening, misspent monies aren't happening, those kinds of things.
That's already happening with the state auditor's office. In Washington state, that's what happens anyway. The Washington State Auditor's Office looks at every local government and their financial statements and internal controls and accountability. For us, they do accountability every 3 years, I believe, and financial statements every 3 years unless we have more than $750,000 in federal expenditures, and then they have to do it yearly. But that does happen through the state auditor's office. And so when you go through these reports, that's where you'll see that there are findings presented that most of the ones in this talk about a lack of internal controls. Whereas we didn't have necessarily 2 employees verifying deposits or double checking cash receipts. But the state auditor's office does do a pretty thorough job of that and provides these reports already. And we're required to do that through the state auditor's office.
Okay.
So I don't believe that it's a good use of city funds to have another firm do that. Because
But
we
how
have to,
often did you say it does it on a yearly basis or every 3 years?
it depends on the size of the city. For the city of Mapton right now, accountability is done on a 3-year cycle. So every 3 years, they come and they do accountability, which looks at our internal processes and our own policies and how we handle cash, who approves what. But then there's also the federal financial audits and the financial statement audits. If you don't meet the threshold for requiring a federal single audit, we're on a 3-year cycle for that as well. And so this most recent one, I think, was intended to be a 3-year audit, but due to the financial statements having not been filed for a couple of previous years, they were only able to do 1 year for the financial statement audit. On that particular audit, I believe there only was one finding, which is the same finding that we've had since 2016. Basically, when the street fund and the sewer fund got into the negative on their fund balances. I don't know, Sophie might, and Vera might, and Diana, actually, you guys were here when I was here before. But we had talked about doing, officially doing interfund loans to cover some of those shortfalls. And council at that time elected not to do that. And so until all of the funds are in the positive, then we'll continue to get that finding on our financial statements. That's just gonna happen. The other finding we got was for late filing. Well, this year, Sophie and I were able to file the 2024 report on time. We also filed the 2023 report. So at this point, the city's caught up on filing those reports. So those financial statements, like I said, either depending on the amount of federal funds we spend, they're either audited yearly or every 3 years. The accountability audit is the one that is every 3 years, no matter what, unless there's a fraud investigation, which there was, for the city, which we all are aware of. And so that's the one where they'll actually look at the systems and policies for cash handling and or following the municipal code and open public meetings and all sorts of other things, and they do issue findings there as well.
Thank you, Jason. So far for all the findings they found, we haven't been fined, they've just suggested a way to take care of it, to fix it.
That's correct. The auditors, any auditor isn't going to issue us any kind of financial penalty necessarily for not complying, but the finding goes on file. And so if and when the city ever wants to borrow money or get a grant from like USDA or something, all those funding agencies are going to look at our financial reports. So that's when that comes into effect. It just doesn't look good for the city to have auditors call out and say, hey, you guys have issues here. But as far as a financial penalty or anything like that, the city didn't incur any additional penalties based on the findings that were received.
Any more questions? Any more questions? No.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. With that, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn this
Before
meeting.
we adjourn, I want to add something to the regular meeting. New business. I want to add a resolution to hire somebody to do an independent investigation on our audit report, on audit findings. So would that go under new or old?
We would amend that in the next council, and right now it's just discussion.
Add it. So I want to add it to, and we'll amend it, yeah, at the next meeting, but I want to add it to where? New? Jameson? So,
So the regular meeting has a portion where you approve your agenda. And prior to approving your agenda, you will say that you would like to add an item.
yeah, but add it to
You would add it under new business.
new business. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Indeed.
Yeah.
With that, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 7:08. It was 5 minutes, 7:13. We'll be right back.